for those of you that are just joining us, welcome back to the Influencers Journey Show. My name is Suzanne Sarhart. I'm sitting down with my girl, Taria Hodge. And our topic today is 3 simple tips every super achiever needs to know to identify their divine client. So this is a big question. How do you know who your divine client is?
Ooh.
I'll tell you what, so I'll tell you what I learned and what I began to do. So when Jimmy asked me that question, I was like, I don't know. And one of the suggestions he told me, he said, you're not going to know when you find that person if you don't know who you're looking for. And I was like, okay. And he likened it to going to test drive a car. And he says, when you go to test drive that car and you sit in the car and you're in that new car smell and you're looking at all the features and colors and whatever, it's almost like it gets etched into your brain, and you're really getting present to all the features and characteristics of the car. And he said, do you notice that when you leave the lot and you're back in your old car, what do you see everywhere?
Yeah, you see the car that you just went to test drive.
You see the car that you just went to test drive. And he says the reason is because it's top of mind. You see the features, you see the character traits, you're paying more attention to different colors of that car, all those different things, even the different years. And that's exactly what happened. So part of what he recommended I do, and I started doing, was listing the character traits of what we call our divine client. So and I want to really talk a little bit more about this, because we have our demographics, how old they are, such and such and such. We have our psychographics, so there's that. And when I did that, I was still attracting people with a credit card and a pulse. There was something missing, and it was character. And so when I began to define the character of the people I was looking for, I began to narrow in on who they are. So one of my key things is my people are hardworking, result-driven, ride or die, first to arrive, last to leave, bottom liners. They will get it done, fiercely independent, yet they like working in team. They are result driven, high level of integrity, do what they say, love community, upfront, in your face communication, which is way fun to work with and not so fun to work with. They're those people.
Yeah.
And so when I got that clear, Taria, I started to hear them.
Yeah.
I started to see them. And I think the thing that struck me was they weren't who I thought they were.
Now that's very good. That's very good. And yeah, it's so true what you're saying, because as we started to unpack it, one of the things that I realized is that I was attracting like the victims. And this is like a huge one. So those people out there who move from programs to programs, right? And when you get in a conversation with them, they will tell you, oh, I bought this program and this program didn't work. And then it was always some reason, whether it's the coach's reason, the stars wasn't in alignment. There was always a reason why things weren't working for them. And as an eager entrepreneur, I was just like, yeah, it's okay. I could go ahead and I could do this and this, and I could see why that didn't work, and da. And I would, bring on those, those people. And unfortunately, what I started to realize is that the same experience kept repeating. And then one day it just totally hit me like, oh my gosh, I wonder if they're out there in the marketplace talking about me like they're talking about other coaches. And that was like a big aha for me. And then I realized that one of the things that I was looking for is the people who accepted responsibility, the
Yeah.
people who are going to implement. Okay, the people who are going to roll up their sleeves and said, I'm going to continue doing this until I find out or I hit what works. The people who, like you said, they have that resolve, they have the ability to keep going, keep, trying different things until they get it right. But
Hmm.
and I'll say this, in working with you, this was my biggest aha, is to get clear on my values. And I'm just going to say this for any of our super achievers out there. I know most of our super achievers have done this. But for those super achievers who haven't done it, your core values,
Hmm.
haven't took the time to sit down and map out or write down your core values, do that. And then just don't write them in the book and close the book and say, oh, I did my core values, because it's the exercise that every entrepreneur is supposed to do, right? No, stick them up somewhere, keep them in front of you. So as you get into conversations, with people, you're able to check, the core values.
That is so important, and I'll tell you, I know that there are many relationships in my life that if I understood as a young person what core values actually meant, I would never have been in a relationship
Yeah.
with those people. And so when you are in conflict, when you are in a rub with someone, when a relationship is difficult, you're pushing a boulder uphill, chances are there's a value that's out of alignment, that you cherish and this person does not. And
Mhm.
oftentimes that is the reason the relationship doesn't work or doesn't go smoothly. So I know for myself, there's values and then there's habits, and they kind of go together. And so one of the things that became really clear to me, when I say my people are ride or die, they're
Mhm.
committed. And I really didn't get how important that one value was until I became an entrepreneur, and
Mhm.
until I began looking for a certain type of client. When I say committed, they're committed until it's done.
Yeah.
They're committed until it's finished. They will go through hardship. They will go through the fear. They will go through falling down, getting up. They will push. They will figure things out. That's a certain type of person. And so when I started really getting present to my values, that and what was important to me, I became clearer on who I was looking for. Because until I got clear on that, I was a frustrated person.
Mhm.
And I was working really hard because I was working not only for me, however, for everyone else. And there's this saying that we want to match energy with energy. You and I can't match energy with energy if we're in different places when it comes to values, when we're different places when it comes to beliefs. And so when you're talking about your divine client, you really got to get clear on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, this is like the secret sauce, because once I got that, then things started to shift for me. I understood how important it was or is, to be able to say no. Like, you are not the person, we're not a fit. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with, letting a potential
Mhm.
client know that you're a fit. And this brings up another point, because in our conversation last week, one of the things that also stood out for me is that what was taking place is after the person has become a client.
Yeah.
And so what we're talking about, today is what are the things that need to happen? What are the things that you need to check so you won't onboard the wrong person as a client? Because once they become a client, then that sets up for a whole total set of new issues. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
these are the things that you want to catch and you want to, do and put in place before they
This all
become a client.
happens.
Right.
It's interesting because I remember just at the beginning of the year we were talking, and I said, "Oh my God, I just love all my clients. They're amazing. I'm having so much fun. They're working hard. Like it's just
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't believe I get paid to do this. This is so cool, right?" And it's because of this thing. So I want to unpack character for a moment so people really get what we're talking about. Because what we're saying, you need to know the character of the person you want to onboard. So there's values, and so we want to be on the same page around values. Character is a little bit different. So character is the sum of your habits expressed over time.
Ooh, I love that.
I'm the Leading with Character girl. Name of the book. It's the sum of your habits expressed over time. Why this is so key is because our habits move us towards stuff or they move us away from stuff.
Yeah.
Our habits are our automatic way of being, the way we show up after we've tried to impress someone. So when we get comfortable and we're no longer trying to show up a certain way and impress someone, this is the person who shows up. That's your client.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they show up in the hardest times, in the most difficult times, when you stretch them, when you challenge them, you go, oh, that's who you are. Interesting. So part of it is, how do you ask the questions that really are character driven? So when I started looking at this, Tria, one of the things I found out was that there are, I believe it's 10 character habits that almost every successful person has, no
Mm-hmm.
matter where they live on the planet. Now, I'm not going to be able to rattle them all off right now, but I can tell you the ones that really stick with me. One is they are visionaries. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are onboarding someone and they don't have a vision, they don't know where they're going, they're just taking your course, chances are they don't have a why that's going to
Cool.
motivate them to
Yeah.
take action when it's uncomfortable. So that was the first thing. The other thing is that they have a great sense of self. And your sense of self comes from a belief in self that has probably come from challenging times where you've fallen and gotten back up, and so you're able to get past things. You believe in your ability to succeed. You believe that you are enough. You believe that you are valuable and you bring value to the world. The other thing that really struck me is they are committed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Until complete. But this was the other thing. They are persistent. And when I read about this, it says that persistence gives commitment life. Is
Ooh,
that not powerful?
yes, it is.
They're persistent.
Yeah.
And so you're looking for someone who's going to persist in the face of anything that's out there. Open, honest communication, integrity. These are the character traits of almost every single successful person on the planet. These are their habits. This, for me, became my guide. So when I sit down with people, I'm looking to see how many of these character traits this person has. And when I find them, I'm like, that's my client.
Yeah.
That's the person I'm supposed to work with. We're going to have fun because they're ride to die. And I remember when I got clear on this, I put one line on my website that you're a hardworking, result driven person and you know you deserve more. And you're frustrated because your ladder is on the wrong wall. But
Yeah.
deep down inside, you know that you're destined to be more, do more, have more. That little conversation spoke to a certain group of people.
Yeah. 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 And like I said, it's so important to get clear, in those things, because and I'm going to bring it back to marketing and why this all matters. It all matters because what we put in to the marketplace is what we're going to attract. Okay? And so we have to be able to, number one, understand what those things are for us, and then put it out there. So when the people who you are called to serve, and I say it all the time, like we are each specifically designed to serve, our people are appointed to us. That's it. I totally believe that. So how can we be that tuning fork out there in the marketplace, that when people either hear us or they read what we have, then they say, you know what, that's my person. And we can
Mm.
identify them and say, that's my person. And we lock arms and we journey together.
So there's two things that come to mind as you're talking. So there's this concept in mindset that like attracts like.
Hmm.
The person I'm looking for is looking for me, and
Hmm.
they know me because I'm a reflection of them in many ways. And so one of the things I want you to jump in and talk a little about is this concept that you talk about called social listening.
Hmm.
And how is social listening key for this thing about like attracts like, and the person I'm looking for is looking for me?
Yeah. And so this is really good. So one of the things that, I introduced on our last show was the social success cycle. And so we started off this whole entire conversation talking about social influence. So what I want all of our super achievers to understand, before you could do anything in the marketplace, social listening needs to take place. And listening is actually an act. It's what we do, as a marketer, as an influencer in the marketplace, where we pay attention. We are actively listening into conversations that are happening in the spaces that we are, whether it's, shows like this we're operating in communities, we put a post out there. How are you actively, paying attention to what your audience is sharing with you? Now,
Mm.
this becomes so, so, so important, because I hear people say this all the time. Well, I don't know who my divine client is. I don't know where to find my divine clients. I don't know how to identify them. Right. And so I love that you broke it down and you gave the formula. You got to take a look at the characteristics. You have to define your values. Now, here's what's really cool about this. What's really cool, when you show up online, you're also checking these things. So a lot of times people are saying, well, oh, we check them in conversation. But no, you're checking them in the way their languaging that they show up online. And so and we all see it all the time. So that there's people out there, like I said, they've had an experience with, a coach, or they've taken a program and things didn't go their way. And what do? They get online and they go ahead and they have a whole rant and a whole rave, about it. Now, that specifically says something about that person. It says this is how they handle tough situation. This is how they handle conflict. And so the question for you should be, well, oh, wow, okay, you're seeing all of that, you're listening. Or somebody could put content out there in such a way that you're able to not only hear the words or read the words, but you could tell the
Mm.
underlying thing that's there. And you go into what's really the issue, what's really going on here. Can you be able to discern what that thing is? And so we have the opportunity to actively listen to our audience. And that's the first thing that we should be doing while we're online. And it's a continuous thing, because what that will do is that will give you the opportunity to think about ways that you can serve, who you're called to serve, and ways that you need to serve them. So it's always about listening.
And in sales, I think what most people don't really appreciate, if you will, is that listening is the biggest part of sales. So I've
Mhm.
gotten on a call so many times where the person is attempting to sell me something, but they're talking at me, and they are so um, excited about what they have to offer that they've
Mhm.
never actually considered, does what they have to offer, is it a fit for me?
Mhm.
Is it what I'm looking for? Who am I and why am I sitting in front of you?
Yeah.
And so when I really got this, sales became super easy for me because I became the master of asking great questions. I became, and you know me, I'm a watcher, I'm a listener, and by the time I'm done, I can tell you so much about a person because I'm doing my social listening. I want to take it a little in a little bit of a different direction just
Mhm.
to make the connection between the two. The first place that you really need to do social listening is with yourself.
Mm, I like that.
Because what's really interesting is that you say social media is a storyboard. We put stories, we put information into the marketplace, and it attracts the person who that information, that story, that piece of content resonates with. And so part of it you want to ask yourself is, listen to me and let me really get present to the
Mhm.
language I use, to the things I'm saying, to what's important to me, and package it in such a way that I attract the people I want to work with. And at the same time, listen to them and see what I'm hearing and does it resonate with who I want to work with. And so as I began to do this, what I really began to look at, Sharia, is there's things in my language, things I specifically say that reflect my experiences, that when I'm speaking to the right person, it is like a beacon. It is like a dog whistle. It is like the light. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm walking into the light because that's what I've been looking for. It is knowing what your people are saying to themselves, feeling, uh, what they're muttering under their breath, what's that pain that they're walking with, what's that frustration. You can only get that first by listening to yourself and listening to them. Now, there's a big reason you're listening to yourself, and we'll get to it. However, when you get that nuance and you really start to do the social listening, you will begin to really resonate. I remember one thing I said, and I probably still say, is when I was in my worst time, I kept saying, "This can't be my life. This can't be my life. My life cannot look like this. I
Mhm.
am more than this." And as I started listening to people, they would get on the phone with me and go, "This can't be my life.
Yeah.
I am so much more than this." I would say, "I'm living small." And I'd get on the phone and someone would say, "I'm living so small." And you're like, wait a minute, me too. And so as I began to pay attention to the words I say when I'm in struggle, when I'm in pain, when I am frustrated, when I am not getting what I want, or when I'm excited,
Yeah.
when I started paying attention to my own vision, this gave me the languaging for being that calling card.
Yeah. And I want to go ahead and share this. So one of the biggest another big question that I get like all the time is how do you create copy in the world? People for marketing. People ask me that all the time. How do you write, that post that engages people or attracts people and is exactly this? And I'm going to take it a step further. So as I was listening to you, and I was just like, yeah, you uncovered the pain points, because people will tell you, people will tell you exactly how they, how they feel. They have their languaging and everything. But what's really cool about it is that we also get a chance, to paint the transformation for those people too. And so as we take a look at, what is it that, we desire, what we want, right? And we put that out there. People who are attracted to that message, it's like, yeah, I know I'm in this place. This person feels what I'm saying because they could relate. But you know what? We're also in alignment with the desired results. And so it's one of those things when I said, and I like really got a hold of this, I was just like, oh man, I started to say, like, I want people that I could journey with.
Mm. And so I want to really highlight something that you're saying, because this is so key. And I remember when we first started working together, and you were frustrated with your clients, and I was talking to you about leaving people. Your conversation is left in the dip, at
Hmm.
the bottom of the dip, and
Yes.
you were like, what? So this is what I was saying, is that when we talk about just the pain and struggle, we're going to attract those people that are
Yeah.
just talking about the pain and struggle. They're
Yes.
not solution oriented per se. They are just loving wallowing in the pain and the struggle.
Yeah.
They don't actually want resolution. They just love being the victim of the pain and struggle. And so one of the thing is, have you ever had someone tell you a great story and you're just like, oh my gosh, yes, and ooh, ah, ooh. And then when they're done, you're like, I ain't working with you. That was a great story, but I'm not working with you. And I remember when I first started speaking, and people would say, the audience oohs and ahs, and they're all in. And then you're done, and they're like, yeah, good. And what was missing was you didn't take them out of the dip.
You
In
didn't
other
take the
words,
risk of possibility. Yep.
you didn't say, and I took 100% responsibility to shift my situation, and this is what I did, and I have a solution for you. If you don't do that piece, then you're going to attract the people who are like, oh,
Yeah.
she gets me, she knows what it's like to struggle just like me. Oh yeah, I want to work with her because we going to just marinate in our bottom of our dip. We're going to pull out wine, and we going to have a conversation. It's going to be
Oh
suffering,
man.
and woe is me, I'm going to feel so connected.
Hmm.
And then you're wondering, why aren't they
Like,
moving?
why are they not doing anything again?
Right, because you didn't attract people who wanted to move, because you didn't tell them that's what you do,
Yeah.
that you move people. And so for me, when I really got it and I really started painting the full picture, and painting the picture that if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And I had to find an answer, and I became the hero in my life. And I was my own rescue, using Lisa Nichols' words. I was my own rescue. That's when I found people who were like, I want to be my own rescue. Show me what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to get out of here. And I know I caused this little mess I'm in. Show me what to do. It was a different person.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Like you said, the people who are solution focused, the people who understand that, yeah, there are going to be bumps in the road, but the bump doesn't stop us. Like, what do we have to do, to move past it and keep going? I absolutely love it. Now, I'm going to ask you, because you also introduced a concept that I never heard of before, never heard anyone put it quite this way, but it's so absolutely just brilliant. And once again, for any of our super achievers out there who, are in the marketplace, you're maybe you have a course, maybe you have a program, this is the thing that I think everyone needs to really and truly get and understand. So the concept that you talked about is you are your first client. So
Mm.
why are we our first client?
You know, oftentimes and I'm not going to say this is 100%, but it's a high percentage. And particularly when you have products that are mentorship, coaching based that you have developed. And even if you haven't developed it, it's the motivation behind possibly what you do. So you've aligned yourself with someone who has an answer to your prayer. And then you got so passionate about it that you said, "Ooh, I need to do this work." So what I began to realize was that one of the reasons I do mindset was mindset set me free.
Mm.
And so I became my first client, and I needed to turn my life around.
Yeah.
I was in a mess of all mess. I was the victim of my circumstances. I was whining and complaining and blaming and shaming and all sorts of not so great stuff. And I needed to take responsibility for exactly where I was and what I created. And so, as I began to journey out of the mess that was of my own creation, and this is if you're a mindset person, of my mess of my own creation, I began to find solutions and I began to create this formula that got me out of my mess. Well, as I began to turn my life around, people kept asking me, what did I do? And I said, I just worked really hard. And they go, no, that's not really it. When I looked back, there were specific things I did to get me out of the situation. And what I realized was when people were asking me what I did, they wanted to know those things. Those things became my program. And so when I say to people, you are your first client, when you develop a course, oftentimes we go on the journey first for ourselves because there was something that we needed to create to ease the disruption and the dis-ease in our life. So we create an answer, and then people turn around and go, what'd you do? And now you have an answer that people want. So when I realized that I was my first client, what I realized was I had to go back
Right.
before I had the answer and sit in the place of suffering my own mess and ask myself, what was going on? What was I feeling? Why was I in this mess? What created my mess? What was it about me at that time? And as I began to really sit in that place, I found language, I found information, I found a picture of who I was, and I thought, these are my people, because I was a hardworking, result-driven, ride or die, get her done, do it myself, work overtime, unhappy, can't believe this is my life person. And as I began to get clear, I started finding all these people that were me,
Yeah.
that are me, and they're just looking for an out, just like I was. And they were willing to take responsibility for being their rescue. And I was like, there's my people. Those are the people I'm supposed to work with. I had to be my first client. Now, this was the thing about it, Taria. The beauty of being my first client is there was language and pain I intimately understood that I could put pen to paper. There was a way of being and a suffering that I could so connect with so I could put pen to paper. There was a way of showing up and an energy that was so painful that I could put voice to. And every time I took the stage and I put voice to that, people would come up to me and go, you're talking to me. I am you. Like, you're talking to me. I know you. You know me. And I was like, wow, this is cool. I am my first rescue. I am my first client. And that gives me the information for my copy, my content, my program, how I can take responsibility, and who I am called to serve.
Yeah, I love it. That's what I term when I say I get it, and so I got you. And
Mm-hmm.
I could only say I got you because I get it, and I get it because I've been there before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so cool to really unpack this, because another thing that came up in our conversation last week was what do you do when your clients are resistant, to the process? And this is why it's so important, because what we're talking about here is the frameworks that you create for your products and your services. And the way we're able to come up with these beautiful frameworks is because we've been through the stuff. And so, as we take a look at our challenges, our struggles, the things that we've had to overcome, like you said, that's what people are really looking for. They're looking for the solution. So, can you go back and break down what you did and put it in a framework that says, hey, this is why I'm your guide. This is why, I'm the expert and I'm qualified to lead you from point A to the transformation that you desire to be. And
Mm,
it's such a it when we sit and we really look at all of these things, it's such a beautiful thing, because this is where our magnetic marketing comes
all
from.
the time. Yeah.
And once we really fully understand and embrace these concepts, like, to me, I say it all the time, is like almost you have no choice but to get your divine clients.
And and this is the other really cool thing. So anyone who's worked with us, worked with me, understands that we have this concept called earn the right.
Hmm.
And so I've been in the trenches. I've been down in the mess, and I've earned the right. And I tell people, so I've earned the right to get in your face.
Hmm.
So resistant clients don't exist for me. Clients who are confronted with who they are exist for me. And because I have sat in that seat, I have earned the right to get in their face. And that's a place that every person who does their work needs to get comfortable in, because
Yeah.
people don't come to you to always like you. People don't come to you for you to be nicey nice. They come
Mhm.
to you for transformation. And you need to be able to sit fully in your work and say, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you the real deal. I'm going to get in your face. I'm going to rattle your cage. I'm going to disrupt your situation because you didn't come to me to feel good. You came for change.
Yeah.
That's an earning.
Hmm.
You can't do that if you haven't ETR'd. And that means I've done my work. So I'm not saying this out of just theory. I'm saying it out of love. I'm saying it out of taking a powerful stand for you. I'm saying it because I am so committed to where you're going and I see it for you that I'm going to take you there. And you may not like me in this moment, but you'll love me when you get there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm going to stop here and give some shout outs. So thank you everyone who's been, participating in the conversation. I see Peg, the Chesney is out there. Thank you so much, Peg, for joining us this morning. And then I see Stephanie is out there taking great notes. She says, does your potential clients have character traits? Do they have a vision, have a sense of self, commitment until completion, integrity, and persistence? That's a quote of the morning. Like, persistence gives commitment life. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for dropping those in the chat. I see there's a Facebook user out there that's saying very informative, but unfortunately your name did not appear. So please go ahead, take a moment to just let us know who you are. Okay, and I said, Stephanie is also saying, Suzanne, you said people don't buy from victims. That's absolutely correct, Stephanie. Absolutely.
And I'll be just totally candid. If you and I are still sitting in the victim seat, we're not ready
Mm.
to mentor or coach someone else. That's just the world according to Suzanne. Um, because when someone hands over, in my world, their hard-earned money to me, they're not here to deal with my stuff.
Hmm.
They need to know that my stuff I've handled my stuff,
Handled it.
and I'm in a position to use my experience my giftings, my own brilliance to support them in moving forward. So anyone who takes our speaker program, it's not a regular speaker program because it has a mindset bend, and we tell them you must ETR. And ETR means you got to go do the work and come out the other side and deal with whatever pain, resistance, unfinished business. If that's the program you're building, whatever's in the way of that, you got to do the work, because that's what we owe someone before we onboard them.
Yeah.
We owe them that I have done the work. I've walked this walk. I've traveled this path. And that's why I can share this with you. And I tell people, I only run in one lane. That lane's called mindset. And I do the mindset of speaking. I do the mindset of storytelling. I do the mindset of how people think, the mindset of health. That's my lane. Don't ask me to help you in anything at other area, because I don't have that walk.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a powerful key. And